Or in the after party. Yeah, Zoom, for whatever reason, did that same thing it did last week, where it just stopped showing.
Oh.
So wait, they missed all the nonsense with
No, no, they got all the audio, just not the visual. That's all.
Oh.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, it was only like the
Um,
last 20 minutes.
all right. Well, for now, folks, welcome to the after party. This is where we talk shop after our episodes. This is directly after season 3, episode 22. Season 3, episode 22. Sorry, Black Holes and Revelations, in which really the most important part was that Krellis has adopted a new host, which is to say Miller Three Top.
Porta.
Four Top. I don't even know anymore.
Miller
So
doesn't
many
either.
tops.
So many.
Honestly, that worked out better than I expected. So I guess I'm going to use this time to talk a little bit about Krellis. This is going to be on our, I think this is the one that's going to go on our YouTube too, so this will be free to see. Anyone else who wants to catch our other after parties, they're all available through a Patreon playlist. You just got to, support us in any way you can. That's at bit.ly/neverpatreon, or we do our first one of the month free on YouTube. So for this, Krellis has always been a living suit of armor. That has been since the get-go. And the reason why I kept gendering Krellis female is the previous host was always a female elf. There is technically a story arc we could have followed with that if we went in a different direction, but Krellis became more of a side enemy thing than a plot point. If you guys had stayed on Pistol, Krellis would have been a more emergent threat that you guys dealt with earlier. You would have met Salurk in a regular episode, and you would have figured out the deal with her elf. I was originally going to make it related to Sal, the only other elf you guys have met, Sally, Captain Sally.
Did Miller, or I should say, did Chris know from the skitter shot?
Yes.
Oh, I knew he was a living suit of armor. This whole thing though was all improv. Like this was all organic.
That's what I mean. The living
Yeah.
suit thing, not the.
Yeah, no, I knew he was a living suit of armor. From because I had to build that skitter shot. But
Salurk is the same, by the way.
yeah, Silurk is the brother. And I was basically just using Silurk as a bargaining token that went a lot further than I had ever hoped.
Well, so Krellis has been looking for a new host. I was originally shaping it up to be Seeker, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
For partially because I also wanted Seeker to have some incentive to be in combat more, and having a badass suit of advanced armor I felt was appropriate. Also
Justin.
has the caster pistol and everything. So like
I'll give you the caster pistol.
Yeah, you do now have the
I was
caster
actually going to
pistol.
ask for it. I was going to ask for it next time.
Now for the Krellis Matrix, no, Krellis actually is. So Krellis is an invasive species. Technically, I don't know if anyone's familiar with Galactus's story in the Marvel universe, but the idea is that Krellis and her brother are from a different universe that was actually destroyed, and as they kind of came through the destruction, they wound up in a different dimension. Basically, it was effectively the Big Bang, sort of. So Krellis has potentially been in this universe since its origin. I'm going to say it's probably during the gap that Krellis showed up, but the gap is not sure how long and what the deal is with that, and maybe that event led to the gap. I don't know. Starfinder is vague on that, and I'm using it how I want. But yeah, not like Venom. This is definitely more of a totally invasive species. So the other ones are just consumed. You have a certain amount of time. Usually you're going to try and get out of Krellis's armor, only to realize it's so far not been successful. That's like a whole epic quest line. And if Miller doesn't make it, Miller becomes Krellis, and Krellis's name will eventually override. As you are for like contacts. If you do the bounty hunter thing, you will be under the name Krellis, despite Miller maybe being your name. Yeah. Miller is basically the Silver Surfer in Galactic's story, kind of mixed into one. If we give Krellis the Galactus role, then Miller is the Silver Surfer, basically. You've got the power cosmic as gifted by Krellis. Let's see. Yeah, and that's really it. Just living armor. I really like the idea of it being a sci-fi thing where living armor is also kind of like an old school thing you see in fantasy, but this was a different take on it. And the host was always going to be an option. I wasn't ever sure how it was going to play out. So thank you, Chris, for actually walking next to Krellis. Because had you not done that, I don't know if I would have gone that route.
I will say that this is more of a constructive criticism.
Yeah, shoot.
So the enemy that we just faced, the all-powerful Nat unit, forced a character into, you might not be who you are anymore. and then this Krellis encounter also kind of resolves itself in the same way.
Yeah, that's why I didn't make it an immediate thing. It's going to be far in the future and something that happens as part of if we revisit Starfinder. It's the quest to save Miller, like the quest to find Spock from Star Trek Episode 4 or movie 4, I think. So yeah, you're not wrong that it's a similar concept, but the way it would play out could have some differences.
The application is different, but like the
end result's the same.
Right.
Yeah.
But
it's
very small criticism. Just
no, it's totally fair. And
that's kind of a recurring theme of our entire thing.
It has been a recurring theme is that your
and
self
for Miller
is,
specifically as well.
Yourself is mutable.
Yeah. For Miller, it's been pretty recurring theme too of dying, coming back, changing himself, and
being
that's
reborn.
It's kind of interesting that early on you had problems with Miller because you didn't know where his story was going or like what type of character he was going to be, and then over time that kind of became his thing, was to be this sort of mutable, changeable character, which I like, and I think that actually going into Krellis was very on point, very on character.
I thought it was pretty good too, because Miller and Krellis had something right from the get-go too.
Yep.
He was the original bounty,
Would never have taken Rye as a host, for the record. Rye would have been not an option, and Zero wouldn't have been an option. Brawl could have been, maybe, would have taken more convincing. Seeker would have been almost guaranteed, and Miller was another option. Miller's gotten respect from Krellis throughout, even when Krellis blew your head off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that whole thing's actually written out too.
The way those two interacted just developed naturally.
Yeah.
So it makes sense for Miller. Seeker, to get it after the entire, especially the way that Nat 20 played out with, Seeker getting the Nat 3 and everything. It would have been weird for a Seeker to get also.
Oh yeah.
I think Seeker would no, but it was the offer would have happened, if that makes sense.
Right.
Yep.
And I think I would have been interested to see what happened if Miller had tried to shoot the armor while it was open.
It crossed my mind, but
I think I would have made a grapple check. Like, I think it would have given it a chance to grapple you, and if it failed, you killed Krellis. And if you didn't, you were now Krellis in more than
forcefully.
Just Miller. Yeah, Krellis would have assumed more direct control. But again, the story is that Krellis cannot. Krellis is using you to extend its life force and power it up, but for now it takes a nap. But again, it's a being that doesn't live with a normal life. It doesn't have any benefit to...
And
it can take a break.
I had to double check, but it does follow with... so when Miller became reborn, he actually now follows a god. He was more... I don't want to say atheist, but he didn't rely on gods. He relied on his own set path. After he got killed, he started following the god Horus, chaotic neutral, which the portfolios are adaptation, evolution, and natural selection.
Yeah, that works.
And
and I actually remember you talking about that too. That came up. Was that during your episode again that we talked about the religion change?
This was a couple episodes back. Yeah, I think it was actually in an after party talk.
Oh, that might have been it too. Now that is kind of a really cool looking effect on the glass, I have to say.
Yeah, do it again. That was cool.
I kind of want to explore that more. I don't know why. Oh, hey, Nick, I heard you're a wicked cool artist and take commissions now, and I'm hoping you do them pro bono. Can you really quickly, within a week, give us a new rendition of Krellis?
Sure.
Nice. I totally expect that to happen, and I'm going to be super pumped for it.
Nick, put the laser behind the glass there.
Yeah, the star.
Yeah.
Is that going to work?
A jar of lightning, but not. Whatever.
Wait.
Yeah, there you go. Kind of. Yeah, that's one thing that I look back at the whole thing and kind of wish I did a little bit differently is interact with Krellis a little bit more, because I know you gave me those lines, but I didn't really know what to do with it because I didn't quite understand my own backstory for most, not not that I didn't understand my backstory, but like the other stuff that I didn't know. Like what I don't know the actual connection
Well,
between those two, but I was trying to act like I did, so I was kind of like,
that's what we wanted to go for, because your initial
Yeah.
contact with Krellis was when your Seeker Sona was the
Mhm.
primary persona, and still working through that. And you hid, no, was it Rye hid under the table while you guys talked in the
Yes. Yeah, we
cafe?
hit- yeah.
So you had the most direct connection with Krellis on that front. But otherwise, yeah, your backstories were convoluted. Basically, you guys probably just work jobs together.
Yeah.
Cosmos doesn't hire out outside help too often, but maybe there were jobs you guys worked together or even been competitors at times.
one thing
I think
I'll
like
say
Boba Fett and Bosk from Star Wars.
is that between all of our characters, it seems like backstories were either there wasn't anything we could build upon or just non-existent. Like there was very much, okay, you got this one thing, we kind of did that one thing with that. What do you do next? Or just like the androids, they don't know, and then Rye backstory.
Yeah, Ryan never gave me his backstory for the record.
Yeah.
I mean, that's more of a, if we wanted to go that route, it would have been something that you guys needed to work on, both in your building your character's backstory, but also in connecting with your GM outside of the campaign. This is tips for anyone running a campaign or playing in a campaign. If you want to have your character's backstory develop more and be a part of it, work with your GM or DM in between sessions. Have out of session kind of. Chris is the only player who I think actually participated in extracurricular sessions with me. A couple of times we did some creation of items that we didn't really use, but they happened. And then we also did some prep work for when he got his head blown off and switched to Sheer Ket. And I think there was one other thing that Chris and I did on the side too, because Chris also did some of his audio logs or
Oh yeah, the Miller monologues.
the Miller monologues in
Forgot
Discord.
about
So like
that,
he
yeah.
had some things that developed his character and had avenues, but otherwise I was mostly just going with you're dealing with a universal story, and if your character arc can play into that, I'll give you a bone.
Yeah, Dren had potential, but again, not with this party.
I had no problems with mine.
that was mostly my
I felt like I was able to kind of
Yeah,
continue
yeah,
on with the whole
yeah.
backstory and stuff. I do not have that complaint that you.
Yeah, Miller
said
had
about
no
me at
problems
all.
with Dren, actually, because he wasn't part of the group that got sent away by Dren. No, as far as you know, Dren was just some guy.
some actually capable guy. Now, so I've been doing some deeper research into like better ways to run games, better ways to run narrative games as well. And I talked about one scene that I kind of put together off of my kind of self-learning here, because I'm trying to get better for our audio podcast, because I want it to be more engaging and I want it to feel like a show. I don't want it to feel like I'm sitting over on this side of the screen struggling for words as I make shit up as I go along.
Yeah.
I will be making stuff up as I go along, but I want to have a frame of reference so I can set it better. So like taking things from Blades in the Dark, when you guys are going through like a heist, you guys would be able to say, all right, flashback, this is why I have the rope that I have, and whatever. Like it's part of the planning stage, but the planning happens as our mission goes along to address the issues as they come up. And we talked about some other things, but what was the 3, Chris?
3 portmanteau.
Yeah, 3-word portmanteau.
Which was?
Sunky in.
Slimy monkey man.
Oh God.
Or,
We never did salt him.
I never did. All right. Well, all I was saying is I am working on a more advanced version of a show, and it'll have more involvement from the players at all times, because we are at the initial part building the world. And then I'll want you guys to help me determine how it develops, because there'll be generational gaps in between characters for that. And I don't know if that's going to be a season thing or how we do that. Nick and I have talked a little bit on our ride back from PAX about how we would do that. I think it's going to be non-linear in terms of how we deal with those characters. We'll be the gods for one season, the demigods for another season, and then we could even revisit the gods at another point and establish them more. So like we're going to be going a little bit harder into the narrative end of things. It's going to be a game. Things are deterministic from dice. We're not simply doing an improv play, but I feel like this one's going to be more aggressively set in scenes that we curate, as opposed to walking through a dungeon simulator, which is kind of what we've been
Good.
doing.
I like that. I feel like, especially if we're going to all audio, you know, when we're working with like maps and stuff, it's not as easy to kind of say like, oh, well, I do this thing and I'm going to do that, whatever, and stay fully in character while talking to each other the whole time, and like, you know, actually making progress in the story without saying like, well, my character does this, you know. That's something I want to get better at, is instead of saying, well, you know, Seeker does this thing or I do this thing, I would rather say, you know,
Yeah,
like, well, watch me, I'm going to get it done and I'm going to go do the thing, you know.
I try to describe at least something what I'm doing. I never try to say, I never start with, well, Miller says this. You know, I kind of give it a little extra.
Yeah.
I'll also be able to do voices better when we're not doing it live, because if I get it wrong, you guys can correct me and edit it out. In live, we just roll with my shitty voices, and it's annoying. But that's an issue as to why I've had to, when I'm doing multiple characters, I have to say who's talking. But in the future, we can rely on voices, and that'll be better too. I think also Justin was getting more comfortable with audio effects at one point too that we never utilized. So we have a lot of room for the audio podcast. I'm going to, as soon as we hang up this Zoom call, text you guys in Hangouts and say, let's set up a date for the first recording, just the test recording. Chris, I know you're not a part of the main campaign, but if you want to participate in that, and again, I've always said that there's room for visiting players, and I know your caliber is not a concern.
I'd love to be a visiting player.
Yeah, it's again, it fits the gods.
Just like a chaos thing.
Have any of you, that also works a lot.
You could be the god of chaos. There you go.
You could be literally like
Perfect.
the Loki from Supernatural kind of thing, where he pops up. It's always good, but it's always a hot mess. Have any of you read what is it called? The Similarion or whatever? The Similarion for...
It's been on my list, but that's an undertaking and a half.
So it's a prequel to The Lord of the Rings. I've been reading through it. I've had it for a while. I've like started reading a couple times. It is crazy dense and also not at all digestible in my opinion. But I
looked
thought,
at
you know
it,
what?
I was like,
isn't it basically just all of his notes?
Sort of. It's like his notes compiled into
comprehensive notes.
Yeah.
It isn't notes, so it's pitched as fiction. It is he's writing the backstory to the world, how it's created, how the gods are, how Balrogs are, Ungoliant, Morgoth, how that eventually gets to Sora. Like he goes through it as like a history book. It's a history book is what it is. But it does a really cool thing where it talks about how he created the world, and it goes through the gods basically coming down and what they do. And that's kind of what we're going to be doing. So I'm reading that for inspiration, and I'm getting a ton of stuff. Nothing that we need to rip, but it's like, oh, I see how we need to have some avenues for where these things come from, and I'm very excited for it. I think our God campaign, the first arc of it, is our Similarion. I don't know how to say that word.
Silmarillion.
Silmarillion. I don't have it in front of me. It's actually on my bedside table because I'm reading it. Thank you. What was that?
Silmarillion.
Have you read it, Nick?
No.
And Justin, I know you don't know how to read.
I've read all of Lord of the Rings books except for that one.
Yeah, I've read that. I also I didn't know there was other books. I'm assuming these were put together by his kid, but I've now got The Fall of Gondor and the Book of Lost Tales all within the Lord of the Rings, and they have J.R.R. Tolkien's name on it. So I got some good stuff to read, but this book in particular is all about how Middle-earth gets created, and that's basically what our first arc is. And again, the final arc is the Fellowship of the Ring. That's the mortals going through this world and all of the trials and tribulations that were caused by the gods, sort of. Again, it's not the mortals don't care about the gods, and the gods don't initially care about the mortals. It's their own thing at first.
Adek, funny story. I went to a Christian school in like up until 8th grade or whatever, and we actually read Lord of the Rings in Bible class. Our Bible teacher was this like retired cop, and he was just like, let's read Lord of the Rings because there's a lot of stuff in there that's pretty cool. Like, okay. So
Tolkien was a devout Christian. I don't remember which sect, but he was devout. He was very into religion.
Him and C.S. Lewis, which I'm surprised.
Actually, he converted C.S. Lewis. Yeah, C.S. Lewis was an atheist, and Tolkien actually converted him. He didn't convert to the same religion, but he converted him to what do you call it, faith, basically, and like the benefits of religion as a practice. And C.S. Lewis converted to a different form of Catholicism. Super cool. I was reading that based on some stuff I was reading in Reddit based on again, my current reading of Tolkien.
Yeah.
Super good
Lewis
stuff.
was a little bit more on the nose with his metaphors, though. Just a little tiny bit, like,
yeah,
you know.
Yeah. I feel like you almost read the same Reddit thread, because that was like this. C.S. Lewis is like, yeah, but they literally have Jesus lion, Satan witch, and like there's no subtlety whatsoever to C.S. Lewis's work. But also people are defending it as that's the point, and it's marketed for a younger audience. So you're not supposed to be subtle to children. You're not.
Nope.
Children don't get subtlety. Are we putting in all of the?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. You guys missed only a few of them.
Yeah, so we missed what? 2 penises.
2 penises, Tri-Blades, Black Ink, Papa Peter's Pizza Palace.
So yeah, let's see.
Oh,
Tri-Blades.
actually,
I just figured someone would try 2 penises was Chris's suggestion that he didn't think I'd actually put in.
Ice Jam. So someone said I Jam. I'm like,
oh, that would have been it.
Didn't I? Oh, my bad.
Yeah,
I guess I Jam is actually right, Jason. I should have put I Jam. Eyes Jam was a misnomer on mine, because if we look at our logo, or our icon, it is just the one.
But that's because it was an icon or an emote, not like in the moment it was your eyes jam.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I didn't make a mistake.
No.
Cool.
When we uploaded the emote, it was deliberate because it was one eye.
Yeah, we didn't have a lot of space. Although I will say, I still like the way that emote looks.
Oh yeah,
I
love that.
That's really good.
Yeah, I like. I'm still impressed that I did that back in the day. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll throw it together.
I like Kidney Punch too, although I still think the clarity on that one's a little challenging.
Yeah, I do like the angry Dusty face.
Angry Dusty face.
It's
great.
classic.
It's a classic.
The Angry Whopper face.
Yeah, again, I don't know why that was turned into my Angry Whopper face, but I guess
because that's the face you probably made during that time.
I don't even know how Steve did that.
I like how Dustle's now a thing.
You use choints.
Dust style.
Did I say dust style?
Some of these
is it dust style or is it
dustily?
Dustily. Yeah. I like dustily.
No, he said dust style.
When?
When you introduced yourself.
Really?
Yes.
I'll have to go back and listen to it. I thought I was speaking super clear.
And then you said Rawl and Bry. So Shadow and I, like through the chat, we kind of looked at each other like.
Yeah, I heard that one too.
All right, that's awful. No, I still like the Kidney Punch, Steve. I think it's perfect for our channel. It just doesn't communicate well anywhere else. Kidney punching is fucking hilarious. I gotta be honest. I love kidney punching. It's just that out of context.
I go up to people all the time, just punch them right in the kidney. It's great. I love it.
I think the eyes jam again doesn't mean eye jam for anyone else, but I think that still gives you a what the WTF icon. I like that. Angry Dustin, super clear as what you'd use that for. Kidney punching, I think it's great, and you did a ton of work with the little space you had. I am garbage at these emotes. I tried making them, and basically Nick told me no and took me off of it, and I think Steve, you told me the same as well. All right, it is 11:04. I should probably go to bed. I've got work in the morning. We're graduating students.
All right.
Oh, it must be nice.
I am sorry. I'm not trying to rub that in. I know.
I'm just joking.
I'm kind of jealous of Britt, who was furloughed, so she's unemployed.
I'm so jealous of people who don't have to work right now.
Right?
I'm still working.
Well, I mean, I don't even have a job to go back to. I'm not furloughed. I'm not laid off. I'm unemployed. You know?
Yours is worse.
Yep. I work for medical software, so we're getting slammed.
Yeah, well, yeah. Luckily, my wife works in the medical industry.
Yeah.
Super. Yeah.
Anyway, dudes, wait, that's not you guys. Anyway, drifters.
We gotta go see Dead Aussie Gamer.
Going to be rating Dead Aussie Gamer, who's our fabulous friend Michael from Australia.
If someone hasn't, please click Krellis hitting on Miller.
Alrighty.
Night, guys.
Split the raid.
Bye,
we'll
everybody.
see you Tuesday for Starfinder.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Einder.
Bye, everybody.